There's two bands, it's Kiss and it's AC/DC, that really is the reason I'm probably still alive. And everybody was fixed on Angus, but I was obsessed with Bon because he was really kind of the first guy that I ever saw with like tattoos. I just couldn't believe it. He was the outlaw, just in a saying of like, he does not work 9 to 5. Gene Simmons. So Gene shows up like at 7, comes in. We're like, oh my God, he's here. And no sound check, none of us. He puts on the bass. It's time for Gene. I can't even tell you how proud I am of that thing, man. When I look at it, I don't care what anybody says. Nobody has a special that looks like that. It is so unique and crazy. It was a goddamn dream come true.
This is not a test. This is Play That Rock and Roll. I'm your host, Joe K, and today our guest is comedian Dean Delray. Dean Delray is the host of the Let There Be Talk podcast, which is a show I've been a fan of for as long as I've been listening to podcasts. For the past 10 years, Dean has also been presenting an annual all-star tribute concert to original AC/DC frontman Bon Scott. This past February marked the last of those shows, and I flew out to Los Angeles to see it. It was one of the best concerts I've ever been to, and you can check out my review of it here on this channel. I invited Dean on the show to discuss this concert, and also to talk about his comedy career, as we are posting this around the 1-year anniversary of the release of his first ever comedy special, 5836. In this interview, we discuss Dean's series of Bon Scott tribute shows, which originally got started back in the 80s, and he also shares several behind-the-scenes stories from this last show, which included Gene Simmons, Josh Homme, Bill Burr, Chad Smith, and other big names in the lineup. We also discuss how he put together his debut comedy special, and what keeps him motivated on his podcast, Let There Be Talk, which now has over 850 episodes. This is an interview I am particularly proud of, because Dean has been a huge inspiration to me on this channel. It's my opinion that Let There Be Talk is the best rock podcast out there, so it was definitely a highlight moment for me to talk with him here. I hope you enjoy it. You can find Dean on Instagram, and you can watch his special, 5836, for free on YouTube. And if you'd like to see him perform comedy live, you can check out his website, DeanDelRay.com/tourdates. Finally, you can listen to Let There Be Talk on YouTube or your preferred podcast platform. And if you enjoy it, you can be like me and join Dean's Patreon. And with that, here's my conversation with comedian and podcaster Dean Delray. All right, we are here with Dean Delray today. We are fresh off Dean's last tribute to Bon Scott tribute show, which was one of the most fun concerts I've ever attended. I'm so happy to see you here today. I've been listening to your show for almost a decade. How you doing, man? Thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me, man. Good poster back there. Kai Ahrens did that. Kai Ahrens, depends who you talk to. Kai Ahrens is how he says it.
Dig it. Yeah, and people should look that up because it is a great poster. Normally would be in my basement bar, but brought it up here for a special occasion today. And I definitely have questions for you about this show. But before we get to that, I want to explore the story of how we got to that point. And let's start with the man himself, Bon Scott. When I started listening to your show, your podcast, I became a fan and a subscriber because specifically how you talked about Bon Scott. Because you were like the first guy that I found that I think talked about him with the right approach, with the right level of respect of like what a legend this guy was. So can you take me back to like your youth when you discovered AC/DC? Like, what was it about them that, captured your fandom, and what was it like seeing Bon on stage?
Well, it's probably right around mid 78, Power Age is out, and KOME radio station in San Jose. And also, I think maybe KSJO. San Fran had like five rock stations. They had KMEL, KOME, KSJO. They had the college station, which was forget the name of it. Anyway, they were playing Sin City, but it was definitely not a band that I didn't own any ACDC. I just started to hear Sin City here and there on the radio. At the time, I was a huge Ted Nugent fan. Huge. And so September comes along and Day in the Green is happening. Number 5, you can look it up. The bill was Cheap Trick opened. And then it was AC/DC. Journey, the beginning of Steve Perry's career, the Infinity record, and then Blue Oyster Cult, then Ted Nugent. So that show started at 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning. My mom, who was the coolest, rest in peace, and the reason I, got to see these great bands was she knew I was a Nugent fan because there was this girl that used to drive me and my best friend to school. Her name was Esther Mahalik, and her brother was my best friend named Chris Mahalik. And her parents made her drive us to school. She had an 8-track player, and she'd play Ted Nugent. I remember it was just Cat Scratch Fever. It was Wang Dang Sweet Poo Tang. It was the Free for All record. It was Double Live Gonzo, of course. That was the mega record. So my mom knew I loved it, and she got the tickets, and we got there on time for 10:30 in the morning. And Cheap Trick came out. I was like, whoa. Rick Nielsen, he looked like that Bowery Boy guy with the hat flipped up, and they were killing it. And I also, they had some music on Over the Edge, that movie.
Okay.
I don't know what the timing was on that. I don't remember if that was after or at the same time. But anyway, I didn't know Cheap Trick until I saw him that day. And then AC/DC came out. Now, I knew Sin City. And so I'm sitting in like a kind of a seat a little far away. And my mom says, "Oh, do you want to try to get down closer?" I was super short. I brought a camera. I have photos.
Oh,
Real,
wow.
real shitty far away ones, and there they were. They came out, and I remember the craziest thing about the day was they played Dog Eat Dog, and Ted Nugent had a Dog Eat Dog, and I was confused. Like, oh, this sounds different. Anyway, everybody, was going crazy over this band, rightfully so. I think they went on at 11 a.m. There's a chalkboard photo that has the set times. I've posted a lot of times, but they absolutely destroyed, and everybody was fixed on Angus, but I was obsessed with Bon because he was really kind of the first guy that I ever saw with like tattoos. He had big parrot tattoos, and he was. I just couldn't believe it. He was the outlaw. He was the complete like hero to me right away. Like, that guy's insane, but not just an insane of like he does not work 9 to 5.
Right.
And then after that it was just over with for me. I became obsessed with him, and of course. After that, the Let There Be Rock film comes out. My mom takes me to see that, and it played on Union Street in San Francisco in the theater. And at that time, they had big sound systems. Anywhere they screened Let There Be Rock, they brought in a sound system, so you were like at the concert.
Oh,
And I still think that it's the greatest shot rock and roll concert I've ever seen because of the jib, the crane, and the way
Yeah,
they shot above the band. It's the most beautiful thing. And you got to think, they're not even a huge band,
right.
and they got a somehow a great, pretty good budget to shoot this Paris concert. And when we shot the special, my special 5836 in the cave, we had a jib, and we were really trying to mimic a couple of those shots where it just comes in on Bond. And I still think, like I said, it's that and the song remains the same to me are two of the most beautifully shot rock and roll concerts I've ever seen. And from then on, of course, Highway to Hell,
Yeah.
and I'm completely, all in. And Highway to Hell, a lot of people ask me all the time, favorite record. It's Highway to Hell. Everybody's Powerades. That's an easy answer, but the depth and the another level of songwriting on Highway to Hell, and the production and the album cover and the photography and everything, it's a whole different animal.
Oh, hell yeah. Especially the point about the album cover. I think everything surrounding the album has to be included in the conversation when you're looking at, what's better than what. You can't, it can't just be the track list. How hard did it hit when he died?
Well, interesting thing was I was riding to school in that lady's car. She wasn't
Okay.
late. She was like a sophomore in high school. Toyota Corolla, green. It was green. She had the radio on. We were going to junior high,
Yeah.
and the DJ came on, and he said Angus Young had passed away. And I was like, whoa, what? And she just let us out of the car, and I went into the first period class. And, back then, there's no internet or anything. And it took all the way until the next day that I saw it in the San Francisco Chronicle that it was Bon Scott. But I was devastated thinking that it was Angus. And then when I found out it was Bon, I was just like, oh, wow. But, it was such a lightning bolt short time in my life. We're talking Powerades, summer 78. He dies in 80.
Oh,
It,
yeah.
and you're in eighth grade, and it's really because I'm too young to understand the magnitude of Bonzo dying, you know. So you don't really even understand how to comprehend that, like you're like, dead, what? And the music's still playing, so it's kind of he's kind of still alive. It's not even real. Like if it happened now, like I don't even know what I'm gonna think the day that, say, a Keith Richards passes away, because that's a magnitude of someone that's been in my life since 1978, Some Girls record.
Mm,
Those kind of guys, when they go, Ozzy, you're with them a long, long time. Bon Scott is almost like a mythical, legend. Like he's just like, he didn't exist to most people because they didn't see him. They just hear him. So for me, it of course it was devastating. But then a few months later, we got fucking Back in Black, and you're just kind of like, oh, all right. It's a really strange thing that you can't describe. Like I said, he was here and he was gone. And I think it affects me more now as when I do the tributes, because when I dig into it, I just realize how fucking great he was. Every time I start to rehearse these songs and go over the lyrics and the singing and the nuances in the vocals, and just the difference between the live and the record, just the little things when he just throws little things in, like, yeah, like, I
yeah.
see was hot, like that kind of stuff that just flies by most people's ears. I'm hyper focused on it because I'm getting ready for the show, and I really watch Let There Be Rock, the film, a lot, 4 or 5 times up until we do the tribute, and that's when it really kind of hits me more than it hit me when I was young, you know?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean that timeline of him passing and Back in Black coming out is so mind-boggling to me of how all those events happened in that short a time. Um, but talking of your tributes, I know the Bon Scott tributes didn't start with this run. I know you did a run back in the day called the Church of Bon Scott, and I've been very curious to hear you talk about that a little bit because I know that was a tradition for you in San Fran for a long time. When did you start that up, and how did that series of shows come together?
Well, in the 80s, I decided, hey, let's do a tribute to Bon Scott. He died a few weeks after my birthday, and we'll wrap it in with my birthday, like a birthday party every year at San Francisco at the Stone, 412 Broadway. It was basically one of the greatest rock clubs of the history of rock and so underrated. I mean, people talk CBGBs, they talk the whiskey, they talk the Troubadour and the Roxy, but this Stone and the Corona family that owned it and the other clubs they had, which was the Keystone Palo Alto and the Berkeley Keystone, they owned 3 clubs and they were unbelievable. It was a guy named Big Bob Corona and Freddie Herrera, and they owned these rock clubs, and they had everybody. And then eventually, I started booking these clubs or the Stone,
Right.
and I had kind of a free reign to do whatever I wanted because I had a pretty good track record of the bands that were coming in, selling out Jane's Addiction, this kind of stuff, newer bands, Bullet Boys, stuff that I had the finger on the pulse. So I decided, well, what we'll do is once a year, we'll gather up all the talent in the Bay Area, bands like Death Angel or, Jet Boy, Testament, Mr. Big, anybody from the Bay Area, and we would divide up a record. So each year we did a record, and every band would do 2 songs from the record, and then I would sing 2 of them. And that's how it started. So we started, I think, with Highway to Hell, and then next year we did Dirty Deeds, then we did Power Age, and we did them every year. And then we moved it to the Bottom of the Hill when the Stone closed. And then I moved to LA. So we did it for years and years. Once I moved it to the Bottom of the Hill, I realized let's just put together a core band and I'll just sing the whole show and we'll have the same guys because it's tough when you're getting bands to do it. There's guys on the road or whatever. So that's when I switched it to kind of having a core band, which is Billy Rowe from Jet Boy and Buck Cherry and Josh Z. And Josh Z and I, and Billy, our love of AC/DC and our friendship is so, so long now that we don't even need to communicate on anything. It's like, here's the set list, here's what day we're rehearsing, see you there, and then we just explode.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that definitely shows on stage when I saw you guys. What was part of the motivation for doing these shows that there wasn't other people doing this kind of thing for Bon? Was because I know Bon's a legend, but was he getting proper respect during the 80s? Because AC/DC went to a popularity level on their own, and I wonder if, like, back in the day, was he sort of forgotten about?
Well, he was never forgotten about, but I was always surprised, even now, that there's not something massive. Like my dream
Yeah.
is to move it over to the LA Forum and do it You only need a couple more names and it's on at the Forum. Bill Burr sells out the Forum on his own. But if we moved in a Dave Grohl and a couple other guys, even somebody very interesting like a Springsteen, who's played AC/DC before in Australia, you move in some guys and really, I mean, Bond's going to be 80 this year. He would have been 80. And really take this thing to a fucking another level. Now, I've had a lot of dreams about things to do. One, shoot it for Netflix because we have comedy at the beginning of it. That was very vital to me if I was going to fire it back up. We have to do comedy because that's what I do now.
Yeah.
And I love comedy more than anything. And I didn't feel like doing it like, let's dust it off. I need a little glory. It
Right.
was never about me getting glory. It was more about, Bond had this comical side to him.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, big balls.
Right.
She's got the jack.
Yep.
These comical lyrics. And I thought, let's have comedy also. And then we'll do the rock and everybody gets this kind of full flavor of the evening. And also it's a dream of mine to do a comedy rock tour in a proper way, which is how I do it. First half of the show is seated, and then we take an intermission and we get the fucking seats out of there so the people can rock.
Yeah.
And it's the only way to do comedy and rock because comedy with people standing up sucks. It's not even good.
Yeah.
And I've done it many, 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 many nights, and it's always awful. It's never been good. It's never gone like, that stand-up show where the people were just walking around with their beers. That was great.
Yeah.
So anyway, get back to your question. There was nobody doing it back then, but it really wasn't about, we'll show these people. It was more about the core of San Francisco, how much AC/DC means to somebody from Exodus, to somebody in Journey, to somebody in, Santana, to somebody in, Mr. Big. Like all musicians in the Bay Area had seen AC/DC or loved AC/DC. So, Y&T took them out on tour, all this kind of stuff. So it was more about just our kind of small gathering gang, just to have a fucking night of rock,
Absolutely. And I got to tell you, coming back home and telling people about that show, the comedy angle was what a lot of my friends were most surprised and impressed by. I said there, a bunch of comedians and yourself. And then, I mentioned Bill Burr doing it, Type 15. And like all of my friends who, thought the concert was interesting enough were like, whoa, I've never even heard of a show like that. That was a really impressive angle to the show. When you look back on this last, 10 years or so of you doing these tributes more recently, what are some of the memories that pop out outside of this last show? Because correct me if I'm wrong, didn't you have one of those shows like the last night before the COVID lockdowns?
Yeah, that was one night before the lockdown. And
That must be
what's
great.
really weird about that is I had worked for the Stones for 4 years and toured the world with them. And I was around during SARS. Now, SARS was something that somebody got and they would die in a few hours.
Right.
It was such a brutal respiratory disease. And then it was gone after like 2 fucking weeks. Literally gone. And then, the Stones and AC/DC did a giant SARS benefit.
Yep. Right.
My point of that is we were a night away from doing that show, and I was getting a lot of emails from people going, hey man, is this show going to be canceled? Because, there's a lot of a lot of weirdness out there. And I was like, canceled? I mean, literally had no fear at all. I was like, no, what are you talking about? This isn't SARS,
Yeah, right.
you know? And we did that show, and the next day, the entire country closed down.
Yeah.
And it was literally actually we did that show. The next night I performed at the Comedy Store, and then they shut down. So they have the last set framed at the Comedy Store of the night before it closed for months and months. And also, I was thinking like, oh, even if something happened, it'd only be a couple weeks like SARS, because no one's dying from this in a couple hours.
Right.
Of course, a lot of people died from it, but it was a slow death. They'd be on respirators or whatever. It really attacked people that had, type 2 diabetes and type 1 and out of shape and all that. But it was really, really wild because at the that night, everybody was kind of cutting loose, and then
Yeah.
that was it. And so many people hit me years later, like that was the last show I saw,
Yep.
which is really amazing. I go, yeah, that was the last show I saw too. But over the last 10 years, if you really look at it, the first one was 50, Delray at the El Rey. I turned 50. And the El Rey is, I love the El Rey. We did it twice there, but then we moved it to the Avalon. And once we were there, I was like, this, other than taking it to a level of the Forum, there's no better venue in Los Angeles in my eyes at all. It is so set up for the ultimate experience of what I do, which is all the screens for the artwork and the photos, the multiple bars. If you don't want to be hammered by rock, you could be in another room drinking and hanging and talking. The huge entryway when you come in where I can sign posters and meet everybody. The giant old school balcony.
Yep.
And then for the band members, which is usually like 20 people or so, a massive backstage that is two tiers where everybody can sit and watch on the stage, everybody else playing without being, a lot of venues have a little shitty green room, and, you got 20 people plus their wives and girlfriends, and then catering and techs. It's a goddamn nightmare. And this place is like a limousine of venues. And the owner is one of the greatest humans I've ever met. He is just unreal how great this guy is that owns the place. There's zero, dick in this guy. Usually venue people are fucking assholes.
Yeah.
And this guy is like, whatever they want. This is one of the greatest ideas I've seen. I love it. And, we took it there and it was really good. And I will tell you this, other than this one, the last one was going to be the last one. The crowd was great. The show was great, but I didn't really get off on it because the monitor man had got sick that day and sent in a couple fill-ins, and they didn't know what the fuck they were doing. And I was having a tough time that night hearing myself. I got through it, but it wasn't a comfortable rock and roll experience for me. Now, the audience had the time of their life and they didn't know, but I kept thinking, you know what, man, I don't want to go out like that. And I knew in a couple years I'll be 60. Let's do that. And this time, I wasn't going to fuck around. I was making sure that we had the proper monitor guy, and I used in-ear monitors this time. And to me, it was hands down top 5 greatest nights of my life. I can name them off. That 60, the Hollywood Bowl, doing Red Rocks, doing Madison Square Garden, and becoming a paid regular at the Comedy Store. Those are the greatest nights of my life, hands down. I can just tell you them right now, you know?
That's awesome. I'm
Yeah.
so glad I picked that was the one I picked to be at because that was one of the best shows I've ever seen.
I can't even tell you how smooth and organic that one went, and it was insane because the rehearsal was a train wreck. Josh Z's flight was delayed like 3 times. People were sitting around the studio waiting for Josh to get there. Then he got there, and we only had the drummer till 6 o'clock, so we're rushing through stuff. It was not good.
Is the
And then
rehearsal the day of or the day
we
before or something?
rehearsed the day before,
Day
always
before.
one rehearsal. And then the day the show came, and it was just, I mean, it was like that Ozzy farewell show, how that thing just went seamless. No, it was just perfect. There were no broke strings. There were no amps that went out. There was no one that was lost. Like, well, how's this song go?
Yeah.
It was just fucking locked, man.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how I felt being in the crowd. Well, tell me about that day because I on a broader point, I want to talk about all the work that goes into doing one of these. Tell me, what does the day of look like? What are you doing in the hours before the show and after?
Well, first of all, I want to tell everybody that there's no manager, there's no booking agents, there's no team, quote unquote team.
Right.
This is 100% a thing I put together. It takes at least 3 months. So when people go like, "Oh, you got to keep doing it,"
Yeah.
I really appreciate the enthusiasm. And I also appreciate the kind words by everybody where they're like, "How come you don't sing anymore?" There's so much that people don't understand about what this takes and the level of stress. At the same time I'm doing this, I'm operating a full-time podcast and comedy career. So every day I wake up in the morning, it's like, okay, well, we got to get the chairs. Now, there's no chairs in that venue. You got to rent the chairs. Okay. Now, here's something that fucking hurdle. We got to get the equipment. We rent the gear because everybody flies in. Oh, fuck. It's Grammy weekend. There's no Marshall amps available. None.
Wow.
And I'm like, how's that even possible? The Grammys is on Sunday. We're on Tuesday. And they go, yeah, but, they'll be all over town and we got to pick them up. And what the fuck? I'm talking about all the major equipment rental houses. No Marshalls. And we're like, well, that's part of the whole fucking thing. So now I got to find some amps. And then a hero comes in. This company divided by 13 and 2 Rock, they go, you know what? We'll bring the amps down from Santa Rosa. I go, no fucking way. And he drives them down. So, okay, now I've got the gear. Then you've got to get the catering lined up. Okay, some people are vegan, some people don't eat this or that. You got to feed everybody, the crew, the bands, and everybody. And it's my birthday on top of that, so I want to have a fucking festive meal with everybody. And then, so you got to get the catering together. Then you have to get the rehearsal together over at Mates, the rehearsal studio. And then we have to pick what time we can do it. We want to be in the big room. Then we got to get a monitor man. We got to get a sound man. We got to get a light guy. Then I have to go to the venue a week before and look at the placement of the photos and the artwork to make sure digitally it all looks great for the customers, the fans. When they come in, they get a full fucking experience. And then a thing called the guest list happens.
Oh,
And that thing becomes a full-on stress mechanism because everybody wants to be sitting on the stage or backstage. And, you get up to 100 guests, and all of a sudden you're like, where the fuck are we going to put people, And, these are celebrities. You can't just go, hey, sit out there in the
Right.
fucking crowd. Then you're going to have people that fucking fall off. So 2 days before the gig, Brad Wilk gets a serious flu. And he goes, don't worry, I'm going to be there. The day of the gig, he says, I got 107 temperature, but I'm just going to drive in, play, and leave. And I go, dude, you can't do that. You're fucking deadly sick. I call Burr. Burr calls Josh Homme. Josh Homme calls fucking Chad Smith. Chad goes, well, I'm in the studio. I can't rehearse or anything. What songs? We give him the songs. He goes, I'll be there. We never even fucking played a beat with Chad Smith, and this guy comes in. And then Marcus King, we're not sure if he can make it. He's on tour. He's got a day off, but he's got to fucking fly in. And, he's tired. He's been, he just played all Grammy weekend, and we just did the Steven Tyler charity gig. Everybody's beat up from that. He flies in and makes it, but no guitar. And so it's those kind of things that happen for a 3-month period. And it's constantly stressful. This guy fell out. Oh, but we got this guy. Oh shit, this guy can't do it now. Every year somebody falls out, but somebody cool comes in. But it's really that kind of stress that when it's done, and the next day, I'm like, wow. And when it's done and it's magic like it was, it's all fucking worth it. But it's all me, man. Look, the guys like Burr and Josh Z and Billy and Mike Inez and Steve Gorman, the core team, those guys are 100% part of it also. But it's the day-to-day that I'm dealing with that is unbelievable. And so when people go, why is it your last one? I go, you don't really understand how fucking hard this is to put together. Now, if Live Nation comes in and goes, we'll handle the logistics, you guys just rehearse and then show up and play, then I'm in. I'll do it. I'll do it San Francisco. I'll do it New York. I'll do it wherever. But also people always go like, hey, bring that to Austin. Hey, bring that to New York. And it's like, are you seeing who the people are that are playing? They're all doing that out of a fucking love and friendship with me. You can't just go like, hey man, so the next one's going to be in New York. We'll see you there. They're like, yeah, I kind of got a band called Queens of the Stone Age. I'm going to be fucking busy. Or hey, I'm in Tool. Yeah. We're going to be doing some stuff. You know what I mean? It's like people don't understand the moving parts of something like this. It's when you have people that are in multiple bands and talents, they're doing it for fun and a favor to me out of my friendship and longtime love of them. They're not just going to jump on a fucking multi-date tour.
Well, yeah, because that's the difference between a passion project and a business venture.
Right. And then you got managers coming in,
Yep.
You got agents, you got schedules and all of that, and everybody is touring all the time. That's another thing I didn't say is 3 months before I have to contact each guy and go, okay, from January to the end of February, what's your schedule look like? And most of the time, nobody gets back to me for like a month. They're like, I don't know. That's way out. I don't know what I'll be doing, which I get. I say the same thing all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So that's another thing. You start to whittle down. Okay, we got this guy on the first 2 weeks, but he can't do this week. Then we got these two guys. They can do the last end of February, but they can't do the beginning. These guys can only do January. We missed Scott Ian and Dave Lombardo this year. who are key players in this because they were out touring with Mr. Bungle. And it was a 4 day miss. They were going to be home 4 days later, but I couldn't change it because other guys would couldn't do it, when they were here, and the core could do it at this amount of this time, this February 3rd, which is actually on my birthday, which made it even more magical. And then you have to get the avails for the theater. So
Oh,
these guys can
yep.
do it here. Oh, we don't have those dates. What do you mean? Yeah, we have these dates. And you go, fuck. Then you go back to the guys and they go, they only got these dates. And then you immediately start losing guys. Well, I'm out. I'm out too. Sorry. And it's a fucking Rubik's Cube, man. You're turning it and turning it. And then you go, oh, there it is. There it is. You know?
Yeah. It sounds like not even a minor miracle, just a flat out miracle that you were able to do it for so many years and the way you did.
I tell people every time, do not fucking miss this
Yeah.
because the amount of work that's put into it, and it's all done for the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. When it was one of those things I always wanted to see, and when I heard you said this is the last one for sure, like I didn't think about it for a day. I got my ticket as soon as they went on sale because I knew I wanted to see at least one of these shows.
Oh,
Okay,
by the way, where did you come in from?
I flew in from Milwaukee.
Okay, so people came from Ireland this year. People
Wow.
came from New York. People came from Australia. People came from Canada. People came from Texas. People came from San Francisco. They came from Oklahoma, Florida. I mean, it is no, a guy flew in from London. It's fucking cool when I'm signing the posters when the doors open and I ask who came from where, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, we're from fucking, Australia." I was like,
Yeah.
"Wow."
Dude, it was the place to be. My last question about this show was about Gene Simmons. One of my favorite parts of the show was you singing Deuce with Gene. And I thought it was really cool that he was there because unlike, everybody else on stage, he was a contemporary of Bond. They toured together, they did shows together. What did he say to you about all this when you invited him to be on the bill? And did he know Bond? Did he have any Bond stories?
Oh yeah, he knew Bond. They brought him out on tour,
Yeah.
and he was one of the early AC/DC freaks. He saw him in London, and was like, "We got to have these guys tour with us."
Yeah.
I will tell you this right now. Gene Simmons, to tell you what that guy means to me is I could talk for 2 hours.
Yeah.
There's two bands. It's Kiss and it's AC/DC that really is the reason I'm probably still alive, because I wanted to play music. And without that, I don't have any other fucking skill. What am I going to do? I worked construction. I was, a framer. I was a laborer. I was a landscaper. Just shit jobs. The only jobs you could get with long hair. Because
Oh,
back then, if you had long hair, you
right.
couldn't get a job,
Yeah, man.
So when I hit up Nick Simmons, who is a friend of mine, and Gene is a friend also. He has done the podcast and he comes to the Comedy Store. And whenever I see him, he is fucking dynamite. And I think he is definitely misunderstood, mostly because, either people don't like Kiss or they do like Kiss, and then they have a problem with something he does, like, oh, he's just in it for the money or whatever. But I'll tell you what, the guy has all the money in the world. And when Nick asked him to do it, he goes, I'll do it. And I can't even tell you what that meant to me. Now, Gene was originally going to play two Kiss songs, two AC/DC songs and a Kiss song. and we were gonna have him play Sin City, you know. So in the
Oh
middle, he could
wow.
do bump, dump, 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 dum. But towards the week before, he called me and he goes, "I don't think I can do it because they're in the middle of getting that hologram show."
Oh yeah, yeah.
And he had to fly out to see the test of this stuff. And so he's like, "I'm going to be out of town. I fly in on the day of the gig, so I won't be able to rehearse, and I don't even think I can make sound check cuz I get to LAX at 3:30 and then I don't know." So then I go, "Oh fuck." You know, and not a big deal. We could, Mike Inez knows all the songs inside and out. Which, by the way, Mike Inez is the greatest fucking band member ever. Just always like, this is great, and he's in the same mindset as me. So I called Mike and said, Gene's out, and somebody of that magnitude, it's always kind of a maybe, you know.
Yep.
But then Nick calls me and goes, "Hey man, what time should we be there?" And I go, "Oh no, your dad called me. He said he can't make it." He goes, "What? Let me call you right back." So he calls me back. He goes, "I'm gonna pick him up at LAX, and we'll just drive straight to the gig." And he goes, he wants to set his guitar player down, and we'll just do Deuce. And I go, "Oh fuck yeah."
Yeah.
That's fine with me. We had rehearsed Deuce the night before. And, that's fine. We just moved the other two songs to Mike Inez. And so Gene shows up like at 7, comes in. We're like, "Oh my God, he's here." And no sound check, none of us. He puts on the bass. It's time for Gene. My surprise to him was the Alive 2 photo
Yeah.
behind us, giant, which I think is the greatest rock photo of all time.
Yeah.
And he comes out, and I literally had kind of tears in my eyes because I was like, this is Gene Simmons, and we're celebrating Bon Scott, the two gods to me. And then we broke into Deuce, and I was losing my mind, and so was Billy Rowe, because Billy and I, we bonded when we first met over Kiss. We met at Motley Crue's Shout at the Devil at the Warfield tour, and we loved Kiss, and we bonded over that. We went to the, he saw him in 77. I saw him in 79 on the Dynasty tour, but we went to the Creatures of the Night tour with Motley opening. So, we're like Kiss guys, Gorman, Kiss guy,
Oh yeah.
Mike Inez, Kiss guy. So, and then to have Nick and Nick up there singing backgrounds, it was just this beautiful family thing. Jerry Cantrell singing backgrounds, a couple of my best friends, Jeff Fletcher up there singing backgrounds, and John, they play in Wonder Bread 5. These are guys that I've known for 35 years. So everybody up there just singing, and Gene up there, it was it I can't even describe what it meant to me.
Well, we could tell, like the energy on the stage was so great. And,
Yeah.
I know you've talked about this, but like for a successful concert, like the audience needs the energy on stage to be great so they can be great and vice versa. And just the energy you guys had the whole night was just fantastic. It was so much fun to watch.
Yeah, me to get to do the Paul part. Do it. It's just like the point. Do
Right.
it. That's another thing I wanted to address, because a lot of people ask me, "You guys are filming this, right? You got to film this." I don't think, another thing people don't understand is when you ask these high caliber people to do a party,
Yeah.
if you bring in a pro camera crew,
Right.
It totally changes the dynamic. And then they're like, wait a minute, I just thought this was your 60th birthday. Why are there all these cameras here? And what's going on here? I'm just down here to have a good time and celebrate your birthday and play some ACDC. I just want to stress that to people. Everything can change the dynamic of a gig that starts out as a party, you know? And so that's why I don't, you know, film it.
Yeah.
And, we have filmed parts of it before just to make some clips. But it's, of course, it would be cool to have Netflix come down and we shoot a comedy rock show and put it out. But that's another thing, too, that would get into how do we get around the licensing of the music? Does the ACDC camp say, cool, they can use the music? It's a sticky thing, But the most important thing is that it doesn't look like I'm trying to fucking do anything behind my brother's backs,
Right.
There's been offers and I've turned them down. Some dumb stuff, and I'm like, I'm not doing that, dude. This is my birth. First of all, it's my birthday party. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I'm not Paris Hilton. I'm not out there having fucking Sky Vodka sponsor my fucking birthday so I can get $1 million behind the back.
Right.
And so what this meant to me, a Josh Homme and Allison Mosshart, a Gene Simmons, a Lure from Primus, a Gorman, Billy, Josh, Burr, especially Burr, just every year, just fucking doing it.
Yeah, it's so delicate, and people got to appreciate it. I'm always just amazed that you were able to pull that off so many times with all of this, balancing act that you got to do. So before we get out of here, I definitely got to ask you about your comedy special, 5836. So I remember listening to your podcast years ago, and you would talk about your comedy career. And I remember you on a couple of occasions saying that you were in no rush to do a comedy special. You wanted to wait till the time was right, till you were, rock solid material, all these things. What was it about the time that you did this comedy special that made it the right time?
Well, a couple things, it's always like, watch out what you put out there because it's out there forever.
Yep.
And, people watch you once and they go, this guy sucks. Now, if they watched my special and they say, fuck this guy, he's not funny, I'm okay with that because I love this special beyond anything I've ever done in my career. It was completely like the birthday thing, the ultimate magical night. But what I don't really say a lot to people is the door felt like it was starting to close. As hard as I was working and as far, I was going up in my career, I didn't have any footage out there. So I was really kind of a ghost in the comedy world other than the industry knowing that I'm out there working. And they're just kind of like, yeah, that guy, he just, he's out there. Yeah. They don't go like, oh, he works hard. He's done 6,000 shows. He's 60 and he's killing it. They don't do any of that. What they do is like, I went on YouTube. I don't see one fucking thing on this guy. And I started to realize the business was changing and it was turning into clips. And I came up in the world of don't burn your material. You don't want to put your material out there because then it's burnt. And then if somebody offers you a special, you don't have any stuff because people saw it. Now there's so many layers of insanity of that now when you look back at it. And, somebody told me once, even if 3 million people saw a clip you put out, that's only 3 million in the world.
Right.
And the YouTube is global. Netflix is global, HBO. So I realized at some point, oh, I better shoot a special because nobody's going to give me a special. Netflix had never approached me. When you're a 60-year-old white guy, you're not going to get approached until you make your own stamp and they can make some money off you. But they're not looking for me. They've seen me many times. I absolutely melted the house down in front of every Netflix person there was at Madison Square Garden, the biggest platform in the world. I did 20 minutes and people were falling out of their seats, dying, and crickets. So you realize real quick, oh, it's not about killing. It's about who can we make money off of. And I'm totally fine with that because I understand it's the business. But the other side of the business now is you can make it your own. And it's a lot like the Metallica era, word of mouth and fans that are spreading the word and sharing clips and all of that is way more powerful than throwing a special on Netflix. I know people that have specials on Netflix and they've completely, a week later, no one talks about it at all.
Yeah.
And they don't own it. They can't just chop up clips. They can't repost it. They can't spread the word. They can't license it out to, hotels or airplanes or whatever. They don't own it. With me, and I'll give you a perfect example. The special next week will be 1 year old. When I first put the clips out, they did over 5 million views. Now I'm repeating putting the clips out because somebody told me something amazing. They said only about 100 of your followers out of your 90,000 see your stuff. The rest is all new all the time. It's all suggested stuff, algorithms.
Yeah.
I posted the motorcycle bit yesterday. It's at 500,000 today.
Oh,
It's
wow.
gone viral today. Now, this is because I own the special.
Yep.
And I can constantly re-chop it or put it in different places. Now I'm putting it on Reddit. I've got over 2 million views on Reddit in the last 51 days. So it's all about grinding your ass off until somebody else, like a Netflix or Hulu, comes in and goes, all right, we'll combine forces with you and do something. And if they don't, you just keep shooting your stuff. I've got some stuff coming out pretty soon. I'm shooting a second special.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, so that's coming up. And now that I'm like out of that mindset of like, don't burn your material, now I'm like, let's put it all out. And my new thought is let's do 15 minutes every 4 months instead of a 60 at the end of the year. Here's 15, and it's 5 new clips. Here's another 15, 4 months later. Here's another 15, and in 12-month period, you've got an hour, and really gear it around like they did in the 50s with like Richie Valens and Big Bopper and Buddy Holly, where it was a singles world. It's almost like music right now.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody just releases singles. You release the record and nobody says anything. It's all about just here's the new jokes. Here's 5 new jokes. It's 15 minutes. It's shot cool. It's artistically cool. Here's another 15. We shot it somewhere else. Here's a different idea we have. And Marcus Price, my director, and I are like best friends, and we have all these artistic ideas. And we're just going to roll it a different way, Everybody has their own path. Joe Coy, nobody was, talking about Joe Coy. He just did SoFi Stadium.
Yeah.
So it's your own path,
Absolutely. And speaking of that artistic vision, I know this had to be part of the equation for you to do your special. Was that room you recorded in, the cave? That looked so cool. I have never seen a comedy special with a location as noticeable and eye-catching as that. Tell me about that room.
Well, obviously, I was like, well, if we're going to do a special, we got to do some kind of special.
Right.
Everybody's got the brick wall or the theater or the arena,
Right.
What can we do? And I interviewed the owner of that, Todd Mayo, who owned the cave. And while I was interviewing him, I go, you know what, we got to fucking do a special in there. He goes, we've never had comedy, man. It'd be great. And a month later, we're in there. And I can't even tell you how proud I am of that thing, man. When I look at it, I don't care what anybody says. Nobody has a special that looks like that. It is so unique and crazy. It's in a cave in the middle of Tennessee. We shot it on a Sunday evening. 2,400 people came out. They camped, they stayed in yurts and tents and
Yeah.
partied and had an incredible time. The magic and the crew, the people that worked on it, and Club Soda Kenny and myself and Bill, all staying in the same hotel in some fucking woods, eating dinner in front of a fireplace, just going, we're gonna shoot this thing tomorrow. And it was a goddamn dream come true. And I see it right now and I'm still proud of it. I just love it, man. But we couldn't even get Netflix to look at it to see if they wanted to buy it. We called them and called them, nothing. And now, it's out there and it's growing every day, man. Today it had 428 views today. Every day it does between 2 and 300 views. And that's every day that it's out. It's crazy. You can see it down to the hour. You can see last hour, 6 people watched it. And to see the analytics of that is fucking amazing. Where it's at, some guys in Hong Kong watched it. Oh fuck, look at these guys up in New Zealand watched it. It's cool.
Yeah, dude, congrats on that. Because yeah, it is striking, and when you have such a cool visual, it makes the rewatch value go way up.
Yeah.
Because like you said, with those shots that you based on the Let There Be the Rock concert film, now I want to go back and watch it again so I can see if I can catch some of those.
The inspiration was 100% Let There Be Rock meets Apocalypse Now. I think the
Oh
the
yeah,
the
okay, that's awesome.
cinematography and just the look of the place is totally Marlon Brando scenes,
Yeah.
in the cave. I mean, maybe people don't understand that reference, but to me, I'm looking at it going, we fucking got it. And also, hats off to Marcus Price. He flew out a week before. I'd never been in the venue, I'd only seen video of it, and really gave me different lighting options. And the one that we went with, the lighting option, the colors, as soon as I saw it, I go, that's fucking it right there.
Oh, terrific. Yeah, it's a great special. I really enjoy it. Before we call it here, I got one podcast question for you. You have been doing Let There Be Talk over 800 episodes, and I can't think of anybody in rock and roll that hasn't been on that show. You've talked to so many legends, but of course, I'm curious about your personal tastes. Are there any dream guests that are still out there in the ether that you're hoping to bring onto the show someday?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, Springsteen.
Sure.
Uh, I'd love to talk to Pete Willis from Def Leppard, the first
Oh,
guitar player.
oh,
Um, I would also love to talk to Izzy Stradlin. I'd like to talk to Axl Rose. I'd like to talk to Sean Penn. I'd like to talk to Christopher Nolan, and of course Francis Ford Coppola. All the great directors that have inspired me by making these masterpiece films. I would love to talk to, uh, you know, who else? There's just people out there that I'm like still dying to talk to. I mean, Zach from Rage, there was a time where I was seeing him every day at a place. I'm not going to blow it out. This last year, I can't even think of a person I'd want to talk to more than that guy, just because I think he's one of the most radical frontmen I've ever seen in my life. I'd love to talk to Karen O from the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, another person.
oh,
Julian from the Strokes. I think Julian's one of the all-time greats. I've been very lucky to talk to people that I think don't do a lot of interviews, say the Mars Volta or Josh Homme or Allison Mosshart, people that are really, have mystique still. So I've been very lucky to talk to those type of people. I'm also very lucky that I got to talk to, Damone, Bob from Fast Times, Romanis,
Yeah.
because that film meant so much to me, and now we are great friends. And so, there's a lot always. And the longer you stay in the game, the more that it could happen,
Yeah.
which is hilarious. I'm getting guests now. They just come to me, so it's really, really cool where it could possibly go,
Well, it's so fun to, tune in because it's obvious that you've been doing the show for so long and have such a catalog, but it's great to hear that you're still motivated to keep going and keep bringing it to that next level.
Well, I think that it's a body of work, 851 episodes, that if anybody wants to just kind of, oh, wow, John Mayer, let's see what this is about for 4 hours when
Yeah.
he wasn't doing interviews. He had disappeared from the press for 7 years after that Playboy interview.
Right.
Uh, why is he talking to this guy? How about ACDC? They never ever did a podcast. Why are they on this guy's uh podcast? I think that it's authentic. I've kept the love of it going. I've never been burnt like, I gotta fucking do this shit again, because I could just stop it. I'm not a guy that does stuff just to do it. I do it because I want to talk to these people. And
Yeah.
it just happens to be recording. Like if I saw him at the Comedy Store, I'd have the same conversation I'm having on the tape.
I just want to say that, like, between the podcast, the Bond show, the comedy special. Like we talk about COVID, you were also the last show I saw before COVID because you and Marin came to Milwaukee in January 2020. And that was the last live show I saw before COVID. And of course, for your time today, I have so much to say thank you for, and I don't want to lay it on too thick. So I'll just say I appreciate you, and I appreciate you hanging out overtime here, man. It has been an awesome experience talking with you.
No problem, man. You did a great, heartfelt review on the show, and it meant a lot to me because, you put all this work into something, and I don't do it for, accolades or any kind of, ooh, I hope I get famous from this. But it
Yeah.
is nice when people go like, holy shit, we went to that thing and it was fucking insane. And it seemed to have really touched a lot of people this last one, because I'll be out and about eating somewhere and someone will come up and go, hey, we were at your Bon Scott thing. It was incredible. So that feels great. That's all I care about. People just having a good time in this fucking volatile climate right now that we're in.
Absolutely. Yeah, dude, it was my first visit to LA. I've heard you
Oh,
talk about
wow.
LA in your comedy, and I'd never been out there, and I had a great time just in the city, let alone, the show. So great experience all the way through. Would love to talk to you again sometime down the road, dude. I could ask you questions for days.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. And send me the link and make some clips or whatever, and I'll collab with you.
Hey, thanks for listening. There's no shortage of great content out there, so you choosing to spend some time listening to this show means quite a lot. If you're so inclined, please give this podcast a 5-star rating and a positive review wherever you get your podcasts. And share our links wherever you can. Or mention this show to anyone you know looking for a podcast recommendation. All of this helps us out a great deal, and I appreciate it. You can connect with us on social media too. We are at Play That Podcast on Facebook, Threads, Blue Sky, and even TikTok. Or we are at Play That Rock and Roll on YouTube and Instagram. Please post a comment and say hello. Finally, Play That Rock and Roll is a proud member of the Pantheon podcast community. So if you're looking for more music podcasts beyond this one, trust me, start with Pantheon. You won't be disappointed. Otherwise, I appreciate any and all efforts you take to support us here at Play That Rock and Roll. Be sure to join us next time for more great music and stories from the world of classic rock.